workshop session for July 22nd at 3:01 p.m. Stand if you're able, and Councilman Mitchell's going to lead us in prayer today.
We bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for another day. We want to thank you for being our God. We want to thank you for this council and ask that you guide us in the right way. We want to thank you for all the employees in the city of Odessa. Just help us all and guide us where we'll be friendly and happy with each other, and we can continue to do the things that we need to do for this city. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please be seated. I'm going to call Laura March for agenda item 3, discuss Discover Odessa quarterly report. Laura.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Check, check. Great. This is good for me? Okay, great. We'll get right in here. Hello again. Just for the record, my name's Laura Martz. I'm the director of Discover Odessa, and I'm here to bring you our quarter 3 quarterly report. I stand in front of you 4 times a year. We go over just some of the events and things that are happening in our department. And I hope that you are excited to see some changes to this report based on some things that you all, some feedback you had last time I was here. So this first page, I just like to share some really great images from really cool events that happened this past quarter. And we love to put our best foot forward in Odessa, and we work hard to collect these images so that we have great things to share on our website and all of our advertisements and such. All right, buckle up. I have some really great things to share. This first page shows our overall economic impact, total hotel nights, attendees, and groups assisted, as it usually does. But this time around, I'm showing you quarter 3 for years 2023 and 2024, as well as 2025. One of the main things I want to point out or start with, I know you may have different thoughts or questions. There's a lot of information here, and I want to do my best to break it down for you. I want to highlight 23 and 25. On the economic impact side, you'll see that there is, a little difference in those numbers, a little more than $1 million additional impact for 2025. But if you look at the bottom right corner, the total groups assisted for 25 are less than those in 23. And, a short answer there is that things cost more in 25 than they did the first quarter in 23. The next thing to point out and share is that the events that we helped support this quarter were higher performing events than those in 23. And along that kind of same vein, I want us to look at your total attendees there as well. So you've got more attendees in 23 than you had in 25 for the same quarter. But what I want to point out is that those attendees include local attendees. That attendee is everyone who attended any of the events that happened that quarter, which obviously will include local. The economic impact does not include locals. The economic impact that we track are out-of-town guests or visitors. There's 2 numbers that you'll have as far as your out-of-town guests. One is anyone who's comes from more than a 50-mile radius away. That's an out-of-town guest. Then you'll have a percentage of those out-of-towners that stayed overnight. And those are 2 of your big numbers that will affect your economic impact. In 2025, we had some high-performing events, some events that had 90% of those people coming in from out of town and staying overnight for quite a few days. And I'll point some of those out on the events page. Then the next thing you might notice is the substantial difference between 24 to 25 and the economic impact. I want to move to the next page to help kind of break some of that down for you. If you'll just look at sports for me, that's the left column there, and you go toward the bottom for that economic impact, you'll see that 24 was at 1 million and 25 was a little more than 3 million. If you'll take the next step up and you look at attendees, the attendee difference is just a little under 800 people in a difference from 24 to 25. That's the great way to point out that in 24, more of the attendees were local. And this is something that we could break down for you even more. It'll make this report a little bit bigger. But if you would like to see the breakdown on these attendees for the local versus out of town versus overnight stays, we can show you that as well. It gets very deep and very detailed, but we'd love to show you anything that you are interested in. In that same idea, if you go to the far right column for events, we're going to look in the middle section that says attendees. In 2024, there were more attendees than 2025. But in the bottom section there, if you see the economic impact was higher in 25 than in 24, even though there were more overall attendees. So I'll continue to say that 2025 was full of high-performing events that had a lot of overnight stays. Those are some of the things that I notice right away in what I do when I see these numbers. If you will go to the next page, and it doesn't look great up there. I hope it looks better for you guys. This actually shows the name of the events. So you can see events that happened in 23, 24, and 25. And it's rarely as simple as, well, this event happened and this one didn't, right? Because there are a lot of events here. There are ones that happened in 23 that, yes, have not happened in 24 or 25. There are ones that happened in 24, like the PBR Chevron Showdown, the Rattlers and OC Rodeo. That's in June of 24. It's like that second line there. That was a first-time event that year. That event happened again this year and was a sellout. They sold out the Coliseum. So even though it happened in 24, there was massive growth in this year of 25. If you look at 2025 events, I know you're just seeing, titles and names, but about 8 of them were either first time ever events or the first time in a very long time to have happened in our city. These are all things that contribute to that second page that has your overall economic impact and, of course, your attendees and your hotel nights. I'm going to keep going to go to these other pages, but I thought I would just stop here. So far, is there any thoughts or questions about what I've said? Great. Okay. So then we'll move on to the next page here. This highlights our digital marketing growth over the years. All of these numbers are moving up, for which we're very glad to see, with the exception of website users. And there we did roll out a new website, which will affect your users, and that's continuing to climb. I love seeing our newsletter growth from 23, 24, and then a jump in 2025. It tells me that people are hungry for information, and hopefully we're giving them the information that they want to see. This is the one page in this report that really focuses on this quarter, because there's a lot of digital advertisements, a lot of print advertisement happening over these past three years. And so we just highlighted the ones that happened this quarter. Some really great things took place. We had some really great collaboration with Midland. If you see kind of there in the middle, there's a card that has Odessa on one side and Midland on the other, because in a lot of areas, especially in tourism and hosting big events, we work very well together. And we are very glad to see that the kind of events that are coming to our area can come because there's enough hotel rooms. There was multiple events that happened in Midland, and people had to stay in Odessa, which we love to hear. Some of them stayed in short-term rental properties, but we won't talk about that. The next page shows our SERP program, our sports event recruitment program, where we are year to date. And actually, since this was printed, we've got $30,000 in grants already approved, and Teresa had some follow-up paperwork land on her desk today that could be an additional $50,000. So we are moving very close to giving all of our money away this fiscal year, which we're very glad for, and we want to do it again next year. So those are my highlights on the report. Do you all have any questions for me?
Anyone have any questions?
Laura, I'd like to First of all, behind your successes as executive director for Discover Odessa, you must have a very hardworking staff. And for the benefit of those council people that maybe have not met these individuals, I'd like for you to introduce who they are and just give a one-line definition of what their job responsibility is. That is the reason why all this information.
You are very very right. We could not. None of us. We know. No leader could do what we do without the people that make it happen. And they are to my left, toward the back there. And I will start with Miss Erica. Erica is our administrator. She can either stand up or at least wave. She's our administrator. And if you know, administrator keeps everyone in line. Without her, we could not do what we do or meet the deadlines. And she does a fantastic job. Then not present currently is Teresa Vasquez. She's our sports sales specialist. As I said, she is working on a SERP grant application right now.
Just want to clarify, no relationship between her name and mine.
That is correct. That is correct. No relation. And then next we have Miss Amanda Johnson. She is our group sales specialist. She manages all the groups that come in our city. She's here as well. She does a great job. She is the longest running member of our team. She's been here for 9 years, so we are so glad to have her as well. And then finally we have Miss Ashley, and she is our marketing communications specialist. She's also here trying to grow our team any way we can. And we're so very glad to have her. She absolutely makes us look beautiful. And so if this report looks lovely, it's because Ashley made that happen. So they're a fantastic team. I'm so glad to work with them. Stepping in here with that group was absolutely the best thing that could happen to me. Thank you.
Thank you much. Excellent report. Anybody have questions?
Mayor, I do have a question. I know
Yeah.
you said you didn't want to talk about short-term rentals, but I know at one point we had talked about tracking short-term rentals so that we could start collecting hot
Yes.
funds from them. And I know you had researched with Granicus, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And when I say I don't want to talk about them, I simply mean because we're not currently collecting from them, and I would love to do that because more hot funds means more support for those type of events. You know, when I stepped into this position, there was a meeting with Granicus that had already taken place. I just kind of picked that up. Granicus is a host compliance program software that helps those short-term rentals, that's what those STRs, those short-term rental property owners, stay compliant. You know, you have an ordinance within the city. That ordinance can be mailed directly to them through this program, helps them understand what their expectations are, how to meet them, creates a platform for them to remit that tax right there on that platform, and makes it, the goal is host compliance. The goal is follow these rules, let's have a great support team, but then in turn it allows us to help collect that. And I helped move that conversation forward as much as we could. I know it's one of those things that's whose exactly responsibility is it, and you know, we're kind of trying to work on that part. I know that Midland collects. I don't know exactly how, and so I thought about trying to look into that a little bit. And Naira and I had some conversations about some of her problems that she has with your long-term rental properties, and that maybe some of the short-term rental solutions could be applied to that as well. So there's lots of questions, trying to get some movement forward. We talked to Scott with THLA that hot funds could maybe even help support that software. So that's another really cool thing, and we're just trying to learn a little more. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Laura, I do have one. For Discover Odessa also, my hat's off to what you folks are doing for the city.
Thank you.
Amazing. Teamwork.
Yeah.
And also thank you for, on the front page, that visual to kind of see a rear view mirror, kind of see where we are, taking this quarterly to date and comparing it to the 2 previous years. It's just beneficial to see, but thank you all for what you're doing, and thank you for that adjustment.
Yes, sir. It's our pleasure.
Anything else, guys? Not, excellent report. Thank you very much, Laura.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, our next agenda item is 4, discuss and consider Stony Ridge and East Ridge issues, which include, of course, parking, speed, and safety. This came up at our last agenda, and so there's obviously safety issues with the citizens that live in that area, but there's also issues with residents of the apartment complex having a place to park their vehicles. So it's, I think it's, we want to try to find a solution to satisfy both issues if possible. Do we have a report on that? Was that Joe? Had that last time? Joe, come on up to the front.
Sure.
See if we can talk about it.
Yeah. We have looked at that. The only real solution is to, if you choose to provide more parking for the apartments, is to allow some parking back on Stony Ridge. And we could stripe it, we could restrict portions, 100 foot from the alley, say 100 foot from the driveways, or whatever it looks like we need for a site triangle. But it's basically a council decision. It would be going back to similar than what it was. That's the only way we can provide more off-site parking. If there's something the apartment complex can do to provide on-site additional parking, that'd be great, but we can't enforce that.
I guess-
Mayor,
Yeah, go
if I
ahead.
may, Aaron, you have those pictures, or somebody got, there it is. This is a picture of what's going on now. They've moved to the east side of Stony Ridge. Look where that car coming down Stony Ridge has to go to get by those three cars. It's onto oncoming traffic.
Right.
You know,
Parking is
this really isn't,
restricted
this
on
really
that
isn't our problem. It's this property manager's problem. There's plenty of parking spaces back there. I've driven back there 100 times. And they did, and he's still down at East Ridge now as well. They're parking all the way down East Ridge again. So, yeah, and that's another view of coming down Stony Ridge going to the north. I'm getting lots of complaints. When those cars are off there, everybody's very happy.
Stop with that picture. The car on the left is illegally parked.
Illegally
correct?
parked,
Right, okay.
correct.
Ones on the right are,
Those are illegally parked.
I was gonna ask the question, does that sign mean for those north of that? 'Cause is it painted yellow on
No,
the east side?
It's not painted
It's not
yellow. It
painted
should
yellow.
be. It says no parking, but it should be painted yellow. They're actually in violation right there.
I guess here's my question as a compromise. Is there any way, as a car is obviously traveling north on Stony Ridge right here, can we move those cars, I'm using the word south, back so they can clearly see east and west traffic and allow some parking? For example, where this car is parked here on the west side, is that a site hindrance issue? I guess I'm asking, why is it so long? And I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking.
There is site problems there as you're pulling out of those driveways and alleys. And it's on a curve, which hurts even more. So that's the reason that we took it to the Traffic Advisor Committee, and with their concurrence, brought it to the council in the first place, is we felt there was a safety issue.
It's becoming a real problem. And I don't know how to solve it. Joe, is that sidewalk, I mean, that's the goofiest structure I've ever seen in my life. Why P&Z allowed that subdivision to be built like it is beyond me, but there's a lot of room left there. And I don't know where.
Is that the alley to their houses?
Yeah,
That is the alley.
it's the goofiest thing I've ever
So
seen.
those are homes on the right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Now, why are those vehicles even in the street?
Well, that's,
they're from these apartments over here.
Well, they need to be towed off.
Well, I get it. Really, I get it. I get calls and emails every day.
Call
People, people wanting to, dodging traffic and hitting kids running out. And there's a bunch of kids that live in those apartments when they were parking on the other side. But how far does the sidewalk I know is ours, correct?
Yes, and the alley's ours. It's not desirable to have an alley next to a street like that, but
No.
that happened 30 years ago
I
whenever.
know.
And,
I know those people's garages back up onto that, but there's,
yeah,
can we take part of that and widen that road?
probably there's 5 foot of right of way and 20 foot of alley there. I'm sure the fence is on property line.
Fence is on the property line?
It, more than likely.
I mean, that's the only solution that I see, is that we take that sidewalk out. Are we required to have that sidewalk?
Yes.
That's probably ADA. We have to have
Yeah.
No, I'm sure. And that was the problem on the other side, because you couldn't get people parking up 2 wheels on the sidewalk, and that violates every ADA
Right.
rule out there.
I mean,
I was just wondering if we couldn't make that street a little wider somehow, so we could get a turn lane or something through there. But the problem is the apartment complex. They freely admitted last time they were here that a lot of company vehicles, and they have their personal vehicles, and there are lots of covered spaces back there that are empty, always are. So I just don't understand.
Well,
why they
Councilman
don't park.
Thompson, can we put for now, you got the parking sign, can we just threaten them with a no parking this side, or you will be told? Maybe that'll, because that lane is smaller, you got more room on the
Other
left
side,
side.
right.
If we clear this lane, they don't have to go around the cars, and that's enough. And then it's enough for this one lane to come through.
right, go back to the other
If we
picture.
can keep them off of this lane,
Yeah, two cars
Yeah.
can't fit. Car can't park and a car can't
right, if
drive.
we can keep that lane clear, you got room on both sides. Maybe if we can just put up a warning sign and say, hey, you will be told if you park on this side of the street, or some type of.
If I understand it, there's already no parking sign.
Yeah,
Not
but it
supposed
doesn't
to
say
be
you
It
will be
is signed
told.
for no
Well,
parking.
whether that is a term or not, who knows? I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe to threaten them a little bit, and they'll say, well, let's get back on the other side of the street.
They just don't care. They just park there. And they're parking down East Ridge for the same reason. They don't want to go in that parking lot and park, and I do not know why. And I invite anybody to want to drive through that back behind there. I've done it 100 times, and there's a whole bunch of empty parking spaces back there. But some of them won't hold those big commercial vehicles, and I don't know what the solution is. I don't believe it's the city of Odessa's problem. It's that apartment owner's problem to provide adequate parking.
But it's no better on East Ridge though. If you're driving on East Ridge, those large vehicles, it's hard to stay in your lane if you in the what I
Yes.
call the outside lane.
Yeah, you can't see
Because the
around
vehicles are there.
Yeah, you can't see around that corner
Right.
And they
it's
come
on a
fast off that
curve as
stop
well,
sign.
So
on
There's-
Lucky
there's side issues on East Ridge as well. It hasn't been restricted yet, but that may be something we need to look at.
No, I think we do, because if you're trying to go left out of Stony Ridge, you can't see far enough around that corner, and you get halfway out there, and you're in a car,
Yeah,
because you got commercial pickups down there, and so you can't see a little white Toyota coming around the corner.
yeah, I've observed that too. It's difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. And I got everybody in Shiloh and all those subdivisions are screaming about it. They're all tickled to death with clearing them off the other side. I don't know.
Councilman Thompson, do you happen to know from the property management aspect, are they anywhat proactive in sending out notices to the residents with these problems?
So there's someone in the audience with their hands up. Ma'am, can you stand up and come to the podium and introduce yourself?
She's a
I know. I remember that. But I'm gonna let her speak. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Janie Gibson. I'm the property manager at Country Crest. And so it's hard. It's been a problem now with East Ridge that they can't park on Stony Ridge.
Right.
And what I'd like to ask for is if they could just have a little section of Stony Ridge inside the curve where it's not obstructing view, but I really think that somebody's gonna get hurt or God knows what parking on East Ridge, because they have to step out into the traffic. And they come by there so fast. And I mean, can't y'all make it where commercial vehicles cannot be parked on the street? I was reading the ordinances and looking, and, you know, can't we prohibit commercial vehicles, period? So there's none of that, and have just a small section on Stony Ridge. And then that way, where the East Ridge, where Stony Ridge goes to East Ridge, and that curve is no parking there, no parking on East Ridge at all, and you're still gonna have a hard time seeing what's coming up East Ridge. However, it would be, you know, there would be no vehicles. I've been patrolling it and seeing how that's all going, and yes, we will give them notices. We will lease violate them. We will do whatever y'all ask us to do to make it safe for everybody, because it is not safe. And Stony Ridge, I don't know why they're parking across the street. I know our parking is limited because, excuse me, each townhome has two assigned covered parkings. There's only 7 spaces on the property that are free for guests to park. We're mostly families. They're 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom townhomes. And mom and dad work and grandma comes over. There's, you know, that type of situation. We have several families that have adult children that live with them in our 3 bedrooms, and they have a vehicle. And literally there's 7 spaces on the property. When the property was built, Eastridge ended with us. It wasn't an issue, you know, but now it is such an issue.
It's a major thoroughfare now.
It is a major, and it's so busy, and it's so, I see we're gonna put up the blinkers on the stop signs at the 4-way at Rocky Lane. I think that does get some people's attention because that gets run so many times.
Okay.
And the traffic monitor, actually, if it could be, I mean, down a little further, because they stop right after the traffic monitor when they're going east on Eastridge, that tells them how fast they're going, and then they're at the stop sign of Rocky Lane, and then they just gun it. I don't know why. And Stony Ridge, when nobody's parked out there, they are using it for a racetrack, literally, because they can get beside each other, you know. And it's the curvature of the road. You know, and I'm good with no parking on that end of Stony Ridge. It still would be on this end where the residents are complaining about can't come out of the alley. And like I said at the last meeting, if we could have a mirror there for them, because that's not good how that's designed. That's a poor design, that they're, you know, they come out the alley right there just like across the street. That alley is their driveway.
Right, so let me ask, I don't know who to ask, Joe, maybe you, or is there an ordinance against commercial, no, that's not the right word, commercial vehicle, work trucks parking on a road? I don't know the, if there's,
I don't know, but if we do allow parking, I would want to sign it, and if that took an ordinance, we could address that to be no commercial vehicles. Sign it for passenger vehicles only.
that would help on the Eastridge side. And if we could just take it back far enough that the site picture is clear, at least to a point.
Yes.
But I guess the second question is, I know this, I mean, I don't, in my mind, I see the curve as I drive it. South of where this picture happens to be here, is there a place we could un-yellow it so there is some parking south of that? Because the curve is the problem for drivers. So I'm just asking if it's a long enough section you could have some parking and still have all the, so south of that curve right there, I guess, or.
In front of that car that's over there, you're saying?
Yeah, is that?
We
We have
could
parked
look
there.
at that, and we'd need to bring it back to you to revise the ordinance.
I would sure like to find some solution where there is some parking, but
Exactly.
we're focused on safety. But we're also considerate enough to try to give some parking back, because parking on the right-hand side is really a bad idea. Because it's not a wide enough road for 2 cars, and that's gonna cause an accident. But, and again, I don't have the pictures in front of me from last meeting, but is there a spot between X and Y that we can make parking without affecting the overall safety of what we're trying to accomplish? That's the question.
What we might do, with y'all's permission, is take this back to our traffic advisory committee, let them work with the apartments and see if we can reach some kind of agreement like that.
I'd feel comfortable with that because there is an issue with safety, and that's foremost in our minds, but there's also an issue of trying to accommodate people that do live there, but I also would like to look at, while they're doing it, banning commercial vehicles. I say commercial, those big, they're like crane trucks or these big double side dualies with the equipment.
Yeah.
Those type of 1-ton truck, I mean, something smaller than a 150 or less or whatever, so at least it's a safety issue,
Yeah, we can do that. It'll probably be a month or so before we meet again. In that time, it is banned, so they will have to.
I think we report we're doing
adhere to
something that's
that.
better than not doing anything. I think at least is
Okay.
a step in the right direction, trying to solve both those two problems.
Well, of course, my thought is, I mean, I don't understand why, I mean, things change all the time, and I understand these were built in 1983, I get it. And the assumptions that were made at the point in time, I get all that. What I am wondering, and I hate to cost anybody any money, but things happen. They're getting more rent for these apartments than they did in 1983 too. So don't they have some liability to rearrange their parking behind their apartments or townhouses back there to accommodate these vehicles? I mean, I hate to mention that, but I mean, it's not all the city's problem. I mean, townhouses are, it's like that Atwell company, you mentioned it the other day. I noticed I think they're running their business out of those 2 condos on that East Ridge side.
Well,
They're there all the time.
They don't live on the street. They live within the property, and I have told them countless times not to park out there. But I did find it in the city ordinance where they can't park a trailer on a city street. So can't we ticket them and fine them? And
Right.
I mean, who can we reach out to? I've tried. I honestly have tried, because that was such a hazard when they had them all lined up down through there. It was a wall you couldn't see coming out of the property at all. And so they didn't. I said, you've got to leave them at your yard. You cannot bring them here. And so they didn't have them there for a long time. And then I see them.
Now they're back.
But coming back. And,
Right.
the TAA lease is pro-landlord. There's a lot in the lease that, we do regulate the parking within the property and everything. But like as far as the city street goes, there's nothing I can do. And I have reached out multiple times. Honestly, I call, and when those cars were on Stony Ridge that needed to be towed, that were not licensed and registered, they can't be on our property. Our tow company loves it because they tow it and they either get it or it's like $380 when they get towed. And we monitor the fire lanes and everything in there. But they just have those 2 spaces, and if they have 2 vehicles, they don't have, really it's guest parking or like the people that have adult children or something like that living in there. It's not, we're very strict on our policy and our procedures, and we're ugly about it. We don't have people living in the apartments that aren't on the lease and stuff like that. We're in the apartments every month doing exterminating, and we watch, and we have I have people that have lived there 31 years, 30 years, a lot of 20 years, and they watch what everybody else is doing and tell on each other. So that's, so it helps us. But
Well, that's a good question you asked. So, David, is that police that get those tickets, or is it code enforcement? I don't know who would give a ticket for.
I would say it's police.
I call the street department and, and complain about that happening, and nothing ever happens. And those cars didn't get towed. I've been trying to get those cars towed for 6 months before they finally got towed. And it's not like I'm not the squeaky wheel, because I'm just squeaking right along, calling and complaining, because, it's a lot of issues. For one thing, it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
It
Jenny,
looks horrible.
Back to my original question. Have you approached the owners? I don't know who owns those things now. Have you approached the owners about reconfiguring the parking? I mean,
Oh,
putting an
absolutely.
investment back in their
There's-
own property.
Absolutely, but there's just no way to do it because the way it's designed. The way it's designed is each home, the homes were built originally, they were going to be sold individually. And then there was a bust, and so they started managing them as a property. And Churchill Forge bought them when they were 10 years old and have owned and managed them since then. But it's the configuration, I mean, you've got a building and it has a patio on the back and it's got 2 assigned covered parkings and there's just a
Road.
pathway.
Yeah.
And so, and then behind it, it's the same thing. There's 35 buildings on that. It's a lot bigger than what it seems like, but the way it's designed, that's their main entry because their parking is at their back gate. So there's just not a way there's nowhere to put a parking lot. There's no way to, I mean, we want to put a fitness center and do things. We don't have any of that because, again, it has a pool and a tennis court. It didn't even have an office because it wasn't intended to be managed as a property when it was built and constructed. And so with that said, we're stuck. It's always been, we need additional parking. We do, but there's just nowhere to put it.
Well, we'll address it. We'll let Joe's committee address it and try to come up with a solution.
Ma'am,
Chris?
you do have plenty of space in the front right there to build parking spaces. You have plenty of grass right there. You can take all that grass, the trees out, and put parking right there.
Take our lawn out and make it a parking lot.
Yeah, at least for the people that are in those front buildings right there, you can build whatever you need to take some of your parking space away. You don't have to tear it all down, but you can design this to fit in those trees and that deal where they park in the front. And then that would free up a handful of parking spaces for you. I know that's not a lot, but ma'am, y'all gotta do something too, not just the city having to spend all this money trying to fix something so y'all can have parking. That's not what the city's here for. That's what everybody's saying. We can't
All
fix
I'm
it.
asking for is one small section of Stony Ridge. That's it. And it's very limited to them and everything, but that's fine. And it just, it is what it is. If they move over it, then they move over it. But, it's a beautiful property, as you can see. And that would be ugly to have a parking lot stuck up in the front of it.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but
I
that's
mean,
your-
we
that's your-
are willing to
yeah.
do things, but I mean, that to me is a little extreme when all we really are asking for is that small section of Stony Ridge that wouldn't be hurting anyone or, a hazard or anything. And we will be happy to monitor it. I mean, put a time limit on it. Can't park more than 24 hours. No commercial vehicles. I'm like restricted all the way down to it can be a car or a pickup, period. And that would give us something. This is the map. This is what I was asking for. It's just this section of Stony Ridge. Nothing down here, no East Ridge, and nothing on that corner, because it's in the curve. And
Be sure Joe gets a copy of that if you don't mind. Oh, you got one, okay, thank you. We're gonna send that to Joe's committee, we'll look at it again, and we appreciate your words, and it's a difficult issue for all of us, we do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for listening to me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Council, we do have another speaker card.
Okay,
Rebecca Tari. Good afternoon, City Council, and thank you for being positive leaders for Odessa. I am a tenant at Country Crest Townhomes. We've been there since 2011. We have seen, of course, the population increase very much. We walk around that area daily and noticing all the problems that we have. We did notice the blinking lights that were installed on Rocky Lane. That did help, but once they pass Rocky Lane to Billy Hext, it is like a speed racetrack for the drivers. My husband and I have been walking through there. We were going, what about if they installed speed bumps to slow down some of the traffic? And also the apartments that are across from us, the Alera apartments, across from them, there is an empty lot, maybe working as a team with the apartment complex and the city. Maybe if that could be extra parking for the tenants. I don't know if that would be available or not in the situation that could be done.
Is it that lot to the north of these apartments?
Yes, sir.
Like, that's Emmanuel Baptist Church, isn't it? I'm almost
Yes, sir.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Empty
a
lot there. Yeah.
There's a lot right there.
And there's a drill site there, I think.
I mean,
too.
we've just been walking the area. We constantly walk it and all that, and just trying to find solutions. Janie is very strict about the policies and where we can park and everything, and we abide by those policies. I am one of them that calls and complains, you know, somebody's not parked here, it's dangerous. We have noticed wrecks right there on East Ridge, constantly happening, like 4 or 5, and they've been major wrecks. And it's all because of the speeding from Rocky Lane to Billy Hext.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, I mean, we've loved being there. I know we have multiple cars. It's my vehicle, my husband's vehicle, our daughter's vehicle, so that's 3 vehicles right there. And we abide by everything. If we have to move, we move. But it's on a first come, first serve on those 7 extra parkings that we take advantage of. Or somebody will park there, like I will park there till my daughter gets home so she can have that extra parking. And then I move my vehicle back under the carport to do that. And my concern is safety and the visibility that we do not have on East Ridge.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your words.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have some data to share if you can give me a
Absolutely.
moment.
Perfect.
According to Chief Cotton, OFR has responded to 7 vehicle accidents at the East Ridge, Stony Ridge intersection over the last 11 years. So I just wanted to share that data with y'all. And that's OFR responding.
Okay. What is the speed limit, Joe? Do you know the speed limit on East Ridge? Is it 40?
It's probably in that range, I don't know exactly, but 40 or 43.
40. Okay, something to look at. I don't know. We all care about safety, so I think our goal, Joe, is to continue to try to make this a safer intersection. At the same time, trying to be at least, cognizant of the fact that there needs to be some parking at there as well. So if we can do to solve both problems, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Any other speakers?
No, sir.
Let's move on to agenda item number 5, discuss the Walk in the Shoes of the Unsheltered event scheduled for October 11th. Ira?
Good afternoon. So we are here. I have Jesus with the Odessa Homeless Coalition today. I always fight with this thing. We invite you to support Walk in the Shoes of the Unsheltered. This will be taking place on Saturday, October the 11th at 8 a.m. The walk will begin at the Ector County Library and conclude at the Family Promise of Odessa that's located at 1354 East 6th Street. The Odessa Homeless Coalition will host this walk in the shoes of the unsheltered in conjunction with the City of Odessa Community Development Department. We will be sponsoring the event and will provide up to $2,000 in assistance for the event costs. This event is part of the Homelessness Awareness Month, observed every October to raise public awareness, promote understanding, and advocate for solutions to homelessness in our communities. To officially recognize this important cause, a proclamation will be presented on Tuesday, September the 23rd, formally designating October as a Homelessness Awareness Month. Preventing homelessness and raising awareness about those that are experiencing homelessness is one of our mandated national objectives. So by sponsoring the Walk in the Shoes of the Unsheltered, we hope to shine a light on this critical issue, foster compassion, and help end the stigma surrounding homelessness. And Jesus is here to tell y'all more about this event.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak here. And my name is Jesus Gomez, as Ms. Naira just mentioned. I represent Odessa Links as the lead for the Homeless Coalition. First, I want to sincerely thank you for your dedication to our city and allowing us the space to bring forward community-focused initiatives. I also want to thank the staff of the community development for their efforts that they are constantly making in towards a better Odessa. So I really want to thank you all. Last year, the city was gracious enough in supporting our efforts to bring forward a proclamation, National Homeless Awareness Month on October. And I'd like to share a little bit about the walk that we are preparing for. October is National Homeless Awareness Day, and so, or National Awareness Month. And so we've titled the walk, Walking in the Shoes of the Unsheltered. The purpose for that tagline is because of the fact that it resembles the walk that our unsheltered make every single day to get resources, whether it be Meals on Wheels or it be Jesus House or any even towards Salvation Army and whatnot. So any kind of resources that are at their extent, they are walking that. So this walk is not just symbolic to the path of the unsheltered, it's also a step towards real solutions, which is what we want to do. Our goal is to bring awareness to the impact of the unsheltered population that it has on our community. Often we do see visible effects of this issue and people seeking shelter in public spaces like the libraries or downtown, but we don't always see or discuss the cause. And so the walk is meant to highlight the homelessness in not just the condition, but also the result of the gaps in life circumstances and challenges. And so the homeless data we often talk about doesn't even include the growing number of our youth or elderly. And so unfortunately, we see children in unstable housing circumstances that no child should navigate while still having to worry about school and what to do next or what to eat. So with this walk, we're not only raising awareness, we're also looking towards the future as bringing about solutions, and we hope to generate support, funding, and redirect individuals not by pushing people out, but by giving them somewhere to go with dignity and hope. And so this is the start of our work to establish resources that offer alternatives to congregating elsewhere than the library or downtown. And so we thank you again, and we hope that we can have your support. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jesus. Anybody have any questions? If not, thank you all.
I have just one comment
Sure,
here to these
absolutely.
folks. For the ladies in the room, I'll pick a topic that everyone likes, and that's diamonds. The diamonds are very facets, many different sides to it. We have directors from many parts of the city sitting in the room. So a city too is faceted and has many sides. I just wanted to give credit to Jesus and Naira, Andrea, because that is a part of our city, that little facet that's actually focusing on this and focusing on awareness. It's not the fun job, you know, a huge rabbit or the sports complex. That's fun and that's exciting. They're dealing with a facet that is difficult and challenging, but this is a part of our city that is focusing on that. So I certainly recommend our support for what they're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much for what you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy seeing you. Let's move on to agenda item 6, receive and discuss the salary survey recommendations by the Gallagher study. Charles.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. To conclude our salary survey, I'm joined by a couple of representatives from our Gallagher group. This is Larry Robertson, Catherine Thorpe, and they have a presentation that will conclude their final report and recommendations.
Thank you, Charles. All right, Larry, step up to the plate.
Step up to the plate. Okay, I'll try to do that. Hopefully we'll hit a home run. I believe we've got some slides to show. There we go. This study started in June of last year. We had a couple of challenges along the way that delayed us a little bit. The systems problem we had back in November and a few other things. We have completed the work. This is the team that overall worked on this project. We had several other folks that helped and assisted as we went through the project. We had Eric Smetana, who's our National Managing Director, Kat and myself. We had Tracy Morris, Mary Gote, and Amber Shang. And I'll be honest, Kat and I are up here. We're the front of this project. Most of the work was done by Tracy and Mary and Amber and others, and we just get to report to you on the good work that was done by them. The compensation review, the study was conducted to objectively examine the competitive job market and make recommendations so that you could be internally fair and externally equitable as well. Really the upshot of this slide is we wanted to do a study that helped you understand where you are with comparison to your peers in the market and things like that, as well as find a way for you to be competitive in your pay and your compensation efforts as well. So I'm going to let Kat talk a little bit about this. We did first a custom survey as well as market research.
Thanks. Thank you all for letting us come in to present the findings to you today. We did a custom survey in addition to published survey research, and what that is, we had over 30, I think it was 35 organizations that were identified by us and the city's project team to participate, be invited to participate in a custom survey. What that allowed us to do was work together to determine specific questions that the city of Odessa was interested in as far as pay practices and pay administration in a certain group of peers that were identified as relevant. And the relevance with that is they offer similar services. They're either currently situated similarly as far as the services offered, size, things of that nature. It could also be aspirational organizations where the city of Odessa aspires to be, or others that you know are aspiring to be like Odessa. So of those, we did receive 17 responses from that. In our world, that is a fantastic number. It was it was very close to 50%. So anything north of 25% is a very successful response rate to a compensation salary survey. And these are the organizations listed there. Of course, your information is also incorporated, but these were the other organizations that did provide all of their salary information and pay practice information in the questions we asked.
May I ask why Midland wasn't included, or they don't fail to respond, or?
Midland did not respond, but we have the ability to data mine their information. So although they weren't an official respondent, we have access to their information.
And their information was included in the study.
That's perfect, thank you.
So I have one question in that regard. Why is the city of Houston on there? The city of Houston has nothing to do with Odessa, Texas.
So this list was compiled working with your HR staff here, with Yvette, who was here at the time, and with Charles as well. And that was one of those aspirational, if you will, cities that we wanted to see if we could get some information from them, see how we compare to them as well.
Well, and Houston and some of those larger ones specifically, we wanted information on them because some of the volume in certain departments here at the city of Odessa are much more in line with a larger city than someone that is just the same population as Odessa. So like when you talk about traffic incidents, court volume, things of that nature, it's at the rate here and the volume of like tickets, accidents, the things going through the court system are much higher than another city of a similar population. So you had to look to the Dallas, the DFWs, and the Houstons for that type, to get the similar type of volume for those types of services.
Any other questions on this slide? In addition to the custom survey, we also worked with these published data sources that we have access to. We worked with the Mercer Survey Suite, Willis Towers Watson, Comp Data, and Economic Research Institute. at, we tried to get as much as we could organizations that were similar to yours. They were public, they were private. We looked at some non-for-profit information as well. We looked for sizes of organizations similar to yours. We looked for geographic locations, obviously services provided, and that's why we focused a lot on municipalities across the state of Texas. As Kat's already mentioned, aspirational organizations and organizations to whom you might have lost talent or you're getting talent from. Again, we want to make sure that we're getting an overall good view of the market. Once we had that data, we leveraged World at Work best practices for treatment of benchmark jobs and market data, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment where we talk about data aging as well as geographic differentials. So all data was trended forward to January 1st, and what that means is we look at our data that we collected. One organization may have had their data effective in March of last year. Another organization may have had their data effective in June of last year, and so on. So we use this trend data from World at Work to age that data all to one date so that we're looking at apples to apples. The other thing that we did was also apply geographic differentials. The cost of labor and living here in Odessa is different from what it is in Oklahoma City, where I live. And so we use these geographic differentials, again, to bring those to where they're apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Any questions on that particular slide? Because that's something that sometimes causes some difficulty. But again, we're looking at Houston. We want to make sure we're comparing it to Odessa equally, if you will. Okay. I'll let you talk about this.
Okay. So this is the beginning of the summary, right? So when we collected the data, the city of Odessa had 381 unique job titles. So that was individualized titles covering the jobs, and it covered, for this part, was 918 employees in those 381 jobs. Of that, we were able to benchmark and gather market data on 292 of those jobs, which represented 850 of the employees here at the city. And that's across all of 34 of the divisions here within the city. So 73% were successfully benchmarked that we had relevant data for, and then that did cover 91% of the employees. So that's a very large percentage of information we were able to gather to make relevant recommendations with a good set of data to support any recommendations and findings we have. This slide we'd like to show, this is important when we start talking in the next few slides about market position. What this shows here is the guidelines, and these are the same for base salaries as well as salary structures when you're looking at how the city of Odessa stacks up to those external comparators. Anything that's within 0 to 5% is considered highly competitive, and that's above or below the market. And then when you move into the next one, the green, you'll see is up to 9.9%, or basically 0 to 10% is considered highly competitive or competitive, and not necessarily areas for concern. And the reasons that you'll have those variations is the timing of when increases go into effect in the organizations that we collected data from. Could also be performance of the individuals in those roles and longevity of the individuals in those roles as well, or lack of. So those are the things that we look at. So with that orange one, you'll see there, that shows from 10 to 15% basically, that something could be off, something could be misaligned. And so what we look for there is to make sure we have clarification about the job, make sure there aren't any duties and responsibilities that weren't included in the job description that we reviewed to make the market comparison. And then it could be, you have someone here at the city of Odessa that's very long tenured in the role or has just been hired into the role, things of that nature. So that's the kind of information we were looking for when we found these types of misalignments. Then anything that's beyond 15% above or below the market, that is something that we would classify as potentially misaligned, and that's going to be the ones that we want to address to see if they're in the wrong grade, they're not classified correctly, and there needs to be some movement there to get them market aligned, and the recommendations would reflect all of that.
So on this slide, we start talking about actual market findings. At the 279 benchmark positions, we determined what the average salary for each one of those positions and how it compared at the 25th percentile, the 50th percentile, and the 75th percentile of the market data that we found. What you see on the screen here is an aggregate of that data, okay? So we took the average salary for all the employees in the benchmark positions. At the 25th percentile, we found that they were at 99% or 1% below what the market was for the 25th percentile. At the 50th percentile, we found that they were at 89% or 11% below the market. As Kat just mentioned, that's just possibly misaligned. It's just outside that competitive edge. And remember, we're using the same salary average for all three of these, and that's why you see progressively the percentage getting higher as you go across there. At the 75th percentile, we were at 21% below. You can see in the next portion of that slide there, we had 7 positions that were above the market at the 50th percentile. We had 136 positions that were in that 85 to 115% mark, and then we had 91 positions that were less than 85% of market, which means we really needed to have some work done. So even though 11% below is not too bad, overall we still had some positions that had to have some work with them. We also benchmarked 45 vacant roles as well. So our recommendations going forward, this is recommendation number 1. We recommended that you move to we actually put together 2 18-grade salary structures. Currently, I believe you have about 34 or 35. My memory is a little fuzzy on that, exactly how many we had. 36 grades is what it shows on the slide. So we suggested you move to 18. We'd identify grades based on the market. We're going to start with that lowest piece of the market and then build a salary structure upon that. Then once we've built that salary structure, then we assign positions to the salary structures depending on what the midpoint was for each position. So we look at the market midpoint for, I'll say, custodian, and we find the grade that best is close to that same amount at the midpoint and assign that position there. You can see what we've done, the work there. We assessed the grades where market data supported higher placement. So some of those positions were moved into positions that were a higher placement, a higher grade, while still preserving that departmental internal hierarchy. One of the things that we did the scientific piece, if you will, the data, assigned the positions to the grades and whatnot. Then we came back to city personnel and said, okay, how do you all see these positions? How do you value them? Because some of those may need to be in a higher grade or a lower grade than what we initially assigned. So we worked with the city very collaboratively to make sure we were getting positions assigned to the right places. Any questions as far as this first recommendation? I know I summarized it. I didn't read it word for word. You've got it right there in front of you. So. Okay. Our second recommendation was, because we've changed some positions to different ranges and whatnot, it may have been that some employees fell below the minimum of that new range. And so our first part of this recommendation is to at least bring all employees to at least the minimum of the range to which they've been assigned. Secondly, we would suggest that you provide a years of service calculation to show value for an employee's time. What we did was said for each year of service in the position in which they were serving, we suggested you award 1.5% of the minimum of that range. Once we determined what we thought that suggested salary should be, we looked at the employee's actual salary. If their salary was below that, we suggested moving it up to the recommended salary. If their salary was above that, then we recommended not making any change at all. Okay. Then we also did a strategic adjustment to bring several employees up to about the 90th comp ratio, or 90th percentile of the midpoint of the range, just to put them in a better placement within the range. I'll let you talk about the cost.
Great, thanks. This slide here does show the cost, and so although there are 2 options listed vacant roles were to be excluded. So that was not a number that we were budgeting for, so they were excluded. It's since been requested that we put that number back in. And of course, this is like starting from ground zero, which is not where you would typically be with the income. So that $7 million number is if all vacant roles were filled at one time at the minimum of the new grade. That's what that number would be. So that's what we're looking at. So option one, like I said, that's market alignment, trying to get you to a more relevant position. You know, that's that 11% below market. We're trying to right size that a bit. Option two is actually the future look. That's kind of the roadmap where the city wants to be able to have a more competitive position. So option one is kind of current state. Option two is a future state. And it's the same types of adjustments there, but that's kind of down the road of where the city needs to get. And that's the goal, to be more market competitive than just aligned, then maybe lead the way and be one of those premium employers for the area. So that's what option two is. The same numbers are listed there. That one, of course, is a higher cost impact there, because that, looking at today's ranges, would be about over 4%, and that's to align you more with the 75th percentile. But that's like a future goal. That's not what we're recommending today. Option one is what we're recommending today, just to be clear.
So we still need to fill 138 positions. Is that what they telling us? Is that what you're telling us? We still have 138 positions vacant?
Correct. That was as of the end of May 30th.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead, Councilman.
You just said the 75th percentile, and I remembered us saying we wanted to be here, and that's where it was, I believe, 75%.
Right.
So when you say market competitive in that option one, is that taking into account the 75th percentile?
The option one is aligning with the 50th percentile.
That's right. That'd be option
Okay.
two.
And option two is for the
75. Okay, I just make sure I understand that. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
got it.
So the current, because you have to walk before you can run,
Sure.
and so we've got to right size some of the issues that were found here at the city, and of course all of that is determined by the fiscal responsibility that you determine. But that way you have a clear roadmap of where the city needs to go in the next coming years.
Charles, if I may ask this question, Larry, if I may ask this question, Charles. So if I were to go to your office and say, hey, can you show me the pay grade structure for a solid waste driver? Would I be seeing a pay structure that would say minimum and some dollar amounts beneath it, midpoints and some dollar amounts beneath it, and then maximum and dollar amounts beneath it? Okay. Now, this Gallagher study will be proposing, assume the same type of pay structure with maybe some adjustment of dollars because of the competitiveness. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, there is a minimum, midpoint, and maximum pay structure for every grade. And so now it's collapsed from a 36 grade structure to 18.
Okay.
And so there is going to be some differences there. But yes, you absolutely have a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum for all recommended grades.
Yeah, that clarifies at least what I was wanting as I was listening and watching. Thank you all.
And all positions have been assigned to one of those grades.
Okay, great.
Any questions on the costs here?
On the cost, I'm sure it is, but you're pointing out an annual cost,
Correct.
not
And
quarterly.
these are salary based only, does
Okay.
not include taxes and benefits, associated benefits, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Next, what's our next recommendation?
So recommendation 3, we would stress that you need to maintain salaries for employees going forward. They need to be paid at or above the base salary minimum without continuing to increase base pay beyond the maximum of the assigned pay range. Employers can consider providing the equivalent of general pay increase as a one-time payment to those who have reached the maximum. There's a number of ways that you can treat that. You can say you don't get any more money at all. You can just decide to disregard the maximum if you want to do that and raise their base salary. or do a one-time payment, which would be our suggestion, to recognize what that increase in pay would normally be. It would not go on their base salary. The next year, their salary would still be at the maximum of the range, but this would be a one-time stipend type thing. Because you want to make sure that you're recognizing that employee's contributions to the organization and things like that. Then freezing pay without advance warning can lead to employee morale issues, so you really don't want to do that. Recommendation 4 would be to adopt a market-based pay strategy with annual reviews to ensure competitiveness, grant pay raises based on available revenues each year, and then review the pay structures on an annual basis using those trend factors like we talked about earlier from World at Work. And if you were to, I'll say, give a 3% increase in pay across the board, then you might want to look at increasing your salary structures by 1.5%. What that does is allows your employees to still be moving through the range. Even though you're increasing the range, they're still moving through the range and getting closer to the maximum on the other side and increasing their place. Any other questions that we might could answer about the study?
Gentlemen, any questions? We appreciate y'all's efforts in providing this report to us to help us better govern the city. Thank y'all very much. We do appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here and presenting with you, and we've enjoyed the work with y'all in the last year.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Let's move to agenda item 7. Discuss the purchase of security equipment for $140,735.59 to meet items required by the Office of Court Administration Security Audit. Leah Albertson.
How are you? Hello, Council. How are you today? We have a lot going on in court. I'm sure you've seen all the fun. I did want to say there is a statute about the parking, so I can send that to Joe. We get lots of tickets for that from Citizens on Patrol. So, we received an Office of Court Administration audit for security last year, and we've been diligently trying to knock things off of that list. It was a 39-page report, and we failed in every area. So we are focused primarily on this particular project, on the security for panic buttons, cameras. We're wanting to have the badge readers that match OPD. Because right now we have, I don't know if you've been to the court, but we have the old antiquated push button. And the security gentleman said, if somebody's got a gun and they're chasing you, how fast can you remember your code and get through that door? Not very fast. we tested it. But these new readers would actually work on a cell phone. And you would put your cell phone up to the door, and then you would have a second gesture that would open the door. That way, if you have a badge on, the understanding is that somebody could rip that off your neck and get through to the court, right, and get to all the staff. So it was... Our wonderful partner Joyce is going to give you a few more details, but it's just a great opportunity for us. Additionally, we don't have any security system in the court. I don't know if you're aware of that. So when we leave at night, it's open, right? And so we just want to make sure that we have a way that we can, if I'm working late at night, which I do a lot, so I can get something done late, we could set it for home mode, and that way I'll be aware if somebody comes into the building. Right now, we don't have that. Additionally, our panic buttons right now go nowhere, just so you know. So if we push a panic button, it doesn't go to dispatch. With the new system, it will. So if we do have an emergency, we'll actually get some assistance. I mean, I know we're next door to OPD, but, you know, there is a wall between us, so it would be much more advantageous for us. This will help. It would cost us $140,000. I've got it down here, $140,000, $735.59. We would already have the funding. We had about 65,000 from two funds that we had existing, but we needed more than we originally budgeted because we hadn't had the audit yet. And on the building tech and security fund, we would be taking the balance from that. So we're not asking for more money. We're just wanting your permission to spend that money on the security system to help us meet our next audit, which I've asked to have them please wait until 2026 because we still got a little ways to go. And this is Joyce Volman, and she has been amazing. She's with Verkada. Verkada is the system that across the city that we use for cameras and security. So we will have one single system, right? So that it's managed by the building services team. And Scott has been amazing, I just want to say. Building Services Director rocks. He's been amazing and such a great support to help us walk through all these security changes. So I'm going to let Joyce go through. You have in your packets under number 7 a little bit about the equipment. We just wanted the opportunity for you to ask questions.
Have you guys had a chance to look that over yet?
Every page.
Okay, awesome. And hi, by the way, thank you all for having me today. And thank you for the support. As Leah said, we work with PD and fire, municipal recycling technology. So you guys have worked with us now since 2022, and that's definitely much appreciated. We don't always have the opportunity to come up here and say thank you, so we appreciate that. I guess to start off, does anyone have any questions?
I think the question I have, I want to make sure I understand, this is absolutely required by the law, right? There's not a choice. It's a requirement that we do this. So you just...
I'll let Leah speak to that.
Okay.
The Office of Court Administration is the governing body for all municipal courts, justice of the peace, and courts in Texas. And they have a security audit team that comes out to the courts and does our assessments. And yes, sir, these were just a few of the things that we've been working on to meet that audit before we're audited again.
Any other specific questions? I'm happy to go through the presentation, but I also don't want to talk y'all's ear off, so.
I don't think we need to go through this page. I mean, number 1, it's pretty self-explanatory. Number 2, it's
Yes, sir.
required. And number 3, we want our people safe. I don't think it's really a question. But does anyone have any questions for either one?
The only
of you?
thing that does come to mind is that, in a way, this is kind of a surprise. Okay, and I'll put it in that category. What about prior year's audits? We definitely have had prior year's audits. How does that compare?
I don't know. All I know is that when we had the audit last year by OCA, and we've been working with OCA. Part of it may be because our state reporting module was broken in our software. We couldn't self-report for 13 months for our Office of Court Administration monthly report. We worked diligently with Tyler Technologies, our software vendor. There was some serious data integrity issues, and there's also lots and lots of data gaps from some processes that were done that the vendor didn't recommend during the implementation before I got here, so it wasn't me. Just want to say that out loud. And so what's happened is I'm sure that's part of it. We're the 16th largest court producing cases in Texas. I know y'all don't believe that, but believe it or not, we have a lot of people here that may not live here, but they shop here and they have wrecks here. And we have the largest juvenile section. We run 26% of the city of Fort Worth's juvenile docket. So we have a really heavy caseload. We're working diligently to do a good job because we want it to be a safe community. We want to make a difference. So when people come into court, right now that guy got in with no issue. So it's a little scary, And then once we saw the list of everything that we're supposed to be doing, I'll tell you one thing, like the bushes out front, we're not supposed to have bushes anywhere around a court. And we found knives and drugs and all kinds of stuff in there. So, we're diligently trying to knock things off the list. And I want to follow the law. I want to make sure that the staff, the judges, the constituents are all safe. We run about 1,000 people a day, so physically in the court. So that's a lot of people.
Leah, is this audit required every year by the OCA?
It is not. They just kind of pick a time to come, but since we did so poorly, they want to come back. So because we didn't have a good report.
Would that be something that in the future, if you're the one that's being contacted by OCA, say we're coming in for an audit,
yes, sir.
Then I suppose you're supervisor is the city manager, is that correct?
Yeah, I've been under the city
That
manager.
you would alert him so that then he can let the council know.
Sure.
Because what Mr. Cannell suggested was this came as a surprise. I did not know of this process myself either, but thank you for bringing this up to.
I just want us to be compliant, and we've got lots of areas that we're working through right now. Security is one of them, right? The building is older. we didn't have heat or air, how fun that's been. So we've just had a lot of challenges in the court. And as we address each thing, we're getting more electricity, so we don't pop the breakers. I mean, it's just a building that's older, and I think that somebody probably, when they built it, I'm sure it wasn't criteria that was required. But over time, things change.
And not to belabor it, when did the OCA audit take place?
Last summer.
Last summer?
And he gave us time. He didn't give the report to us for about 3 months because they have to draft it, and it's long. It's 39 pages, but he took pictures, and it's all set up. It's just a complete physical security assessment to meet the requirements that the state states for court.
And then you have money in your budget.
I do. Already budgeted that, and then we have security funds that we're going to be using for balance.
Okay.
Mayor, all that being said, if there's no more discussion, I move that we approve the request for the purchase of this security.
I don't think we do motions and.
Oh, I'm sorry.
workshops.
Thank you for reminding me.
But I like your motion. Don't get me wrong.
I'm already in my 6 o'clock mode. Okay.
We would love it. I'll be back in August to
Okay.
present.
Yes.
My apologies. Thank you.
Fantastic.
No, thank you.
No,
Thank
we-
you so much. Yes, sir.
I had a question. You had mentioned the issue with Tyler. Did that get sorted out?
We did. The system runs very slow. So the short end of the story is our databases were fragmented. That's the technical term. When someone was processing things manually, it put a lot of gaps in the data. And you normally wouldn't have very high, it would be 15-20%, right, of fragmentation. Ours were up to 90. So it has all these data gaps, and it was making the system slow, so it wouldn't run the reports. It's a very complex report. A lot of the system wasn't set up exactly correctly, so I had to go in and redo lots of it. But now we seem pretty steady. It is slower, but until we upgrade to the next version, we'll have to live with the slowness, the latency.
Is that the next version of Tyler or a new software altogether?
No, Tyler it's the most popular one in Texas. They have about 80% of the market share. Ector County, we share jury pool data. They run Tyler Technologies as well. It's just, we could go to another vendor, but there's really no point.
Okay.
Okay?
Leah, how long would that take to roll this out?
A new software?
No, all this
is the
Oh,
security
this.
plan.
Joyce said it would be, 3 months?
Max, no, this should take a couple days, honestly. As soon as we can process the order, we don't have any back orders currently, and typically don't. So it's a little bit dependent on when the installer, what their timeline looks like. But max 3 months. That would be really long.
And we calculated 3 months based on council approval and going to, sorry, we had
From today.
we have to add that time in, so we did add that time in.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much for
Thank
the
you.
presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move to agenda item number 8, discuss the notification and review of utility relocation on I-20, Segment 1, Phase B. Alex.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The Utilities Department and Finance Department is here to discuss and notify Council on the current I-20 utility relocation that we have going on with TxDOT. As you know, we've already completed Segment 2, which is the east side, so this is starting from 1936 and going to East Loop 338. So we just kind of wanted to notify you guys of where we're at with the project, what we expect the project to be, how long, and then I'll let Kayla take over the financials of this project. So we're going to go over a project review, overview for TxDOT. We'll do the City of Odessa's overview for our stuff. And then we'll talk about probable costs, and then I'll show you a map and then a project timeline.
Why are we moving this? Is this got something to do with this?
So yes, sir. So this is the project that TxDOT's doing to widen the road. So pretty much what they're requesting from us to widen the road, we have to move the majority of our utilities across that, and we'll get into that. Yes, sir. So in 2016, TxDOT worked with the Permian Basin MPO to identify plan improvements to widen I-20. That has started in Midland also, and it's moved into Odessa. So we're currently working on Segment 1. Segment 2 has been completed. That project was about $6 million. We're waiting on the reimbursement for that. We're in the process, almost approved for that to be sent to us. So, any questions on the overview from them. So currently, our project overview for the city is that we've been working with an engineer, Cobb Finley, to come in and review the conflicts that we're going to have with TxDOT's engineering portion of widening the road to where our current utilities lie in the ground. So they've come in, they've done a SUE, which is they come in and they check all of our manholes, water lines, anything like that, review TxDOT's engineering plans, put it together. They give us a plan for what utilities we're going to have conflicted. Currently, right now, water, we are looking at 26,100 linear feet of water that we're going to have to relocate, and then 16,700 feet of wastewater. Total relocations is 54. Now, the number is going to be a little shocking when we get to if you haven't looked at it. We have quite a bit of our large lines that run to the Darrington plant, water lines that are larger in the area that run across I-20, so we'll get to that in just a second. Here's a project map. As you can see, like I said, it's 1936 all the way to the east side loop of 338. So here is the engineer's probable cost. It is a little shocking. The good thing that I'm going to start off with is that this is reimbursable from TxDOT 100%. So the current way that TxDOT handles these situations is that the city will handle engineering services, they will handle construction, they'll handle the bid process, they will handle paying the contractor to do the work, and then once we have the work completed, we're able to put in a reimbursement packet for TxDOT. TxDOT then will approve it. We'll work together back and forth, and then they will send us that dollar amount that we request. Currently, right now, we've had several meetings with our finance team and with TxDOT with this number being so big, to make it to where we can get reimbursements monthly. That is only for the construction portion of this. So once the engineering and design is completed, then we can handle the packet from the reimbursement packet after the engineering and design. Once that's complete, we start construction, and then they will go to monthly reimbursement packages from there. Currently, right now, I will be bringing you guys the engineering and design contract once we figure out how we would like to move forward with the finances. So that's going to come out to about $4.7 million. And then, as you can see, we have general items mobilization, and then we have the water relocations, wastewater, and then the engineer did put a 25% contingency just because of how large some of these lines that we have across I-20 right there. It comes out to about $63 million from the city, and then that is 100% reimbursable. Any questions on that? I know it's a shocking number, but we do have large lines in that area. So here's the preliminary project schedule. It is a fairly long project. TxDOT's let date is in 2029. So currently with our schedule, we would be able to be complete before they come in and start working on widening their portion of the road. So that's why we're trying to get this to council as fast as we can to get in before they can. We would not like to work simultaneously as two contractors on site between TxDOT and the city of Odessa. Do you have any questions for me before we get into the finances?
You may have
Yes,
questions.
sir.
Go ahead.
I do, just one
Perfect.
question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is close to my district.
Absolutely.
And in the great words of Martin Luther King, I see a dream. Is this water line going to be built for the future?
So
because I see designs, I see something going on over there. And I say it all the time, I got to do it, but I'm not going to get in that conversation. But is this line going to be capable for the future if we starting to grow along that interstate?
So currently, right now,
We don't want to have to go back in and spend another $60 million.
100% agree. So what this $60 million is doing is just taking and relocating our current infrastructure. Our current infrastructure is able to handle what you would like to see on the south side of town.
Okay.
So even, and a lot of these, like I said, is one major portion of the project is $8 to $9 million is a 54-inch Hobos line that runs our wastewater to the Darrington plant. So it's more than capable of handling that. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So who negotiated that the city would pay all of this and then get reimbursed instead of the DOT should be paying at least 50% up front for us to move this.
So this is how TxDOT handles all of these relocations with every city. Now, there are certain ways and certain things that we've asked of them and looked into, but this is the method that they handle all of the relocations. It's because we know, as a city, handle the utilities, and so they can't come into the city and say, hey, you know, we know this utility as good as you do. This is why you guys need to handle the utility relocation, and then we'll pay you back for it.
I understand we should do that, but the money should be put up front to do this. We already have a cost. We already know what the cost is going to be. That money should be put up front, and we could draw off of it as we complete. This is $63 million that you expect the city just to.
I would say that's a great question for our legislators.
That's right. Fantastic.
Because that is, honestly, I couldn't agree more with you, 100%. The state is sitting on what, about $18 billion now in excess. So perhaps that would be something that they should think about doing in the future. But this is the cards we were dealt. There's no way around it for us at this point. But
I understand this. That means we got to allocate $65 million that we cannot even touch for anything. In case there's an emergency or anything, we cannot touch this money because we got to pay to move this, so we cannot do anything else with that money. So we're basically being held hostage to put up $65 million.
Yes, sir. In a word.
That's what you're telling me.
That's what I'm telling you. Whenever this, thank you. Whenever Alex brought this to finance, Alex explained the situation. Alex and I went and sat down with TxDOT. We actually went out there, talked to them. It was a big old room, and between Alex and I, we asked that question more than one way. I hear your concern. It's kind of hard to argue with the state. I mean, they told us they can't, that's not how they do it. At this meeting, I expressed a concern that this is a $63 million project. We have $49 million in fund balance, and we have more than that in needs. Deaf ears. Not completely deaf. They did give us an option. I'll share that with you if you're ready for that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go through your agenda. 'Cause I
Okay.
think she has all these different funding.
Yeah, and don't mind. No, sir. My same reaction. I hear you. So
You got me just going.
Oh,
we
yes,
have
sir.
an emergency and we need the money. So we put that on hold while we fix our problem, and then we'll go back to fixing it.
I hear you.
But Chris, they only
I hear
have
you.
about $100 billion in surplus right now. They're barely surviving in Austin.
Right.
Give them a break while they're trying to barely make it through that.
We'll send them a box lunch. Yeah.
There's a question on that too. I thought I was reading, there's a flow of money involved with this too. It's not necessarily coming from the general ledger. Isn't ODC and also MPO?
Well, that's
And
what
then
we're
those
going to
will be-
discuss.
Those folks will be reimbursed in time.
These are some of the options that we have that we're going to talk about now. So like Alex was saying, TxDOT does want to reimburse us for this project. Getting reimbursements from TxDOT's a little complicated. It's kind of like dealing with a grant. It's doable. I've done several TxDOT grants over my 15-year tenure in governmental, but it's work, and that's fine. Just putting all cards on the table. You have to have state approval. You have to have timely submissions, and as Alex previously mentioned, the first phase, the design phase, which is 12 to 18 months, they will not reimburse us for that at all until they are approved of the design. And that's a $4.7 million that we're going to have to completely upfront for at least a year. So that was one of the things that gave us pause. As Alex also said, when we get to the construction phase, they will reimburse us monthly if they've agreed to do monthly reimbursements. The problem with that is on segment 2 that has been completed. The City of Odessa has been working with Cobb Finley and TxDOT since about November or December. Just heard that we probably will have the money within 2 weeks to 30 days. It's kind of hard to pinpoint whose fault it was, not trying to blame, but trying to figure out where the flaws were so we can fix that. Cobb Finley is like TxDOT's fault. TxDOT's were very clear on what we expect. So the finance team and Alex's team, I don't know who's going to send, are going to go sit down with TxDOT. We're going to go over the reimbursement requirements, try to eliminate some of that as we go forward, but we still have that initial cost up front. So we did look at a few options. It was mentioned that ODC could loan us the money to help fund this going forward. It wouldn't have to be the full $63 million up front because this will be a reimbursement basis. We kind of talked about it and we chose a $20 million advance for the fact that we know that first one's going to be $4.7 million without reimbursement right away. We know how complicated it can be getting reimbursements from TxDOT. While I feel confident we will get the process down pat, maybe not right at first. So that's why we asked about $20 million. I know that I was out ill yesterday, but Mr. Smith spoke with Mr. Boutan yesterday, and we're going to provide them some information, asking for their help on that. It seems like they're willing to do so. Mr. Thompson overheard some of our conversations and gave us some suggestions the other day about maybe looking at MPO. I kind of did some research on MPO. I'm not real familiar with that, but my quick research said that the most they could probably give us for the design phase is $5 million, which would be enough. In my opinion, it might be easier just to do it from ODC. That's my opinion. We'll do whatever y'all want. The next option, the state did give us an option. You'll love this one. There's a state infrastructure bank loan that they're willing to loan us some money to do this project. Because we were able to maintain our bond rating with Fitch, they were going to let us have it. They pre-approved us at 4.42% interest. And the interest is not reimbursable by TxDOT. So there's that. We could structure that as a draw so we wouldn't necessarily be paying the full interest on the $63 million, but still that's interest we really don't want to have to pay. I did reach out because this SIB was very new to me. I did the research I could, reached out to our external auditor and our financial advisor, and they saw no problems with this just from their standpoint. But again, it goes back to that interest. And then our next option is, should have been one more page. The next option was, again, like we mentioned, and Councilman Haney said, we do have that fund balance. I think we all agree that that's probably not the best thing to do because of that $49 million. I've heard $45 million for a water tower. We have the Darrington plant. We have all these things we need. So that's probably not our best option. I will say we would not have to put the full $63 million aside because this is a reimbursable project. So we wouldn't necessarily have to reserve that full amount, but we would have to reserve enough amount to make us float the payments on it. So as far as finance, that's really all we had to offer, but we wanted to give you the options because we need to know what direction to take. Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a comment. So
yes, sir.
The ODC, even though it says they have $90 million, they already have money loaned out for a lot of their projects. So we're at $54 million is all the money that is left for them to loan out.
Yes, sir.
Thompson's has some that he's taken for some road projects. We all have this. We keep deleting this money out of this out of our ODC. I know we'll get reimbursed, but what's it going to be? 2-3 years down the road before we get reimbursed?
The first phase will be 1 year, absolutely, and that's the 4.7.
$4.5 million.
Yes, sir. I will say that it would not be 2 to 3 years to get fully reimbursed because depending on the direction ODC and council wanted to take, we would not have to draw down more than 20 million is what we would like for a cushion. But if that's not acceptable, we could draw down 2 or 3 months at a time. I'm sure there's a way to figure out what that would be based on phases of the project. I feel pretty confident once we get a couple of these monthly reimbursements down, we'll get it down easy. I mean, they're not going to go in and change what they've asked for when we got it approved finally. And we have that one experience. We worked with Elizabeth Rangel and Joe Tucker's department, and she's willing to help us with what she's learned moving forward. You know, and that's another thing. All this is in addition to the financial, this is going to take Alex's time. This is going to take finance's time, and all that is okay. Those are just things that we want to make sure y'all see.
So one thing is, all of this money that we keep saying that we're going to pull from the ODC, we need to have all of that added up so we see what is really left on this.
Yes, sir.
We may have already wiped the fund out because there's water lines and stuff for businesses that we just cut a deal with, and we're moving water lines around the corner. There's other expenses. Those are $4 million projects here and there that we were counting on the ODC to pay for too. So all of this $4 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, it's going to wipe this fund out. So we need to take a pause and look at just how much money we're absolutely trying to get the ODC to pull out.
ODC asked us to kind of put together an ask, if you will. So Thursday, tomorrow, today's Tuesday, so Thursday staff will have a meeting internally about what projects are out there. We know what they want to keep as a cushion. Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Cushion for projects that might come their way. So they let us know what that number is. So what we'll do is we'll create basically what is the equivalent of almost like a CIP plan for ODC to consider over the next, let's say, 5 years. Maybe a 3 to 5 year plan. But then they asked for us to give that to them for their budget consideration, which I believe they meet on the 31st, I believe.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
I'm just
100% on the same page.
Y'all realize we keep saying we're going to pull this money for this project, this project, this project. So all of that money's been adding up, and nobody's taking in consideration how much is really that we keep saying we're going to provide for all of these projects.
I thought I was told the amount is 52 million is undesignated. The other 50 is, or whatever it adds.
Yeah, what I'm just saying, what Thompson wants 10 million for this road, or we need to spend this for. I'm just saying all the stuff that we kept saying that we've approved up here, where we need to have that balance, so we know what's left in here, so we don't continue to draw on something that we don't have.
We will make sure at the next council meeting we include the ODC fund balance. Ooh, look, Kaylee probably has it right here.
Hi. So you are correct. That is the amount we have unreserved right now, 54. I will say to ODC's credit, they do a very good job of ensuring they keep track of the projects they have on the books, the projects on the radar. I put together a cash flow model for them per their request a few months ago that they've been utilizing as a tool to help them do that. So we are having their budget meeting on the 31st, and we'll plan accordingly to present this need to them. And so they are keeping track. We do keep track of that.
This is a workshop, so no decision will be made today, but I think we have to think each other, like you either get a loan from a bank or the SIB, whatever that is, then you have to pay interest, so we're going to have to come up with a funding solution, not today, but at council.
I just wanted everybody to know.
So Haney, you getting any of that money?
Yeah, get a nickel out of it.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't see none of them coming to District 1.
I got a nickel, I said.
I don't understand that.
So, but there is some stuff that's coming in that we need some water lines and different stuff that we've allocated. We keep saying we allocate this money, but yet nobody's got a count on. So there's $4 million for one project, so that brings us down to 50. So 10 million, that brings us down to 40. And so you guys can see that this money just keeps going, this list keeps dropping, and before we keep allocating money off the ODC, we need to find out where we're going to sit at.
And that's like Aaron said, that's what we're going to do on Thursday. We're going to pretty much give them everything between the infrastructure that we can handle and give those projects over to David and his team and go from there.
But in theory, after the fives pay, which may take a year or whatever long, after that it's monthly reimbursement. So you shouldn't have that much outstanding once it becomes a monthly reimbursement, correct?
Yes,
but
that's
I just
why
didn't
we're
want us
asking
to
only
use
for
that to, as a guarantee on a loan from something, or use that to guarantee something when all of a sudden now they want, everybody needs their money for something. So that's the only thing. Because remember, inflation goes up every year, so every time we allocate money for a project, by the time it starts, we're another year out on this, and so there you're going to drive that cost. So if you're going to allocate a job to start a year from now, do your due diligence and put a real number to it with inflation.
And that's why we put 25% contingency on there also. Okay. We definitely looked at that. Now the good thing about this is when we go to bid, the price stays the same for the whole project, right?
Yep, I understand.
Unless
but I'm just saying.
Yes, sir, I agree. For other projects and using that money, absolutely.
Alex, just to change the draft of the conversation, The project is termed relocation. So my question, I can easily see relocation, but what are the age of the water and sewer
Oh,
pipes?
the majority of those lines are from the
They're
60s,
pretty new.
70s. Yeah, so the
Easy to do then.
Everything in the area will be pretty much brand new.
Okay.
All the way from 1936, anything along that interstate is going to be brand new.
Okay.
So we already owned up right away, right? We're not buying right of ways on this to move stuff?
No, sir. Everything should already be in the right of way. Yep.
And Jimmy, more questions? No, let's move on. Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all's thorough. Stay there, Kayla and Kaylee both probably, because number 9 is discuss upcoming budget retreat on July 28th.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so last week you were distributed your council retreat books, and we will be having our retreat on the 28th. So what Kayla is passing out to you is the proposed schedule for the retreat that we will talk about here in a minute. But first, I just want to kind of run through what was provided to you in your council retreat books. I'm sure you've already been in them and had a good look, so I won't spend too much time on it. But in your council retreat books, the first few pages you'll have are the sales tax and property tax assumptions that we used to craft the budget, city management and finance. We are proposing the voter approval rate, which is the highest rate that a municipality can go for without having to go to a vote. So you'll see that in that data. We did do a conservative sales tax assumption in there of 60 million for the next year. So behind those statistical pages, you will see it broken down by fund. Each fund will have its own budget. Behind that budget, you will have the changes identified so that you can kind of track what changed from last year to this year, both on the revenue side and the expense side. For your water and sewer and also your solid waste funds, you will also have information on the proposed rate increase, which is 1.5% to keep track with the Southwestern Region Inflation Index, as well as the historical rates over the last handful of years. Within your equipment services and your information technology sections, you will have the list of the proposed equipment that those departments would like to purchase. And then you will have your risk management fund, your golf course fund, and then your debt service fund. The last fund in your book is the hotel motel tax fund. So I did hand out a sheet behind the agenda there. The working document made its way into your book, so we just wanted to provide you the correct data so that you had it for your consideration. So again, I already talked about this a little bit. The property tax rate we are looking for is the voter approval rate of 0.48165 cents per $100. So for a property that's valued at $100,000, that would be $40 a month impact. The utility rates, again, 1.5% to match the inflation index. On the expenditure side, we did ask our departments to maintain their operating budget dollar-wise from last year. So we asked if there were any increases that they needed from an operation side, that they put that on a supplemental request list. So when we look at the supplemental request, there's two different types. There is the ongoing request, which would be in the form of a, our vendor's going to increase rates by this much. We need this much more to operate. The second kind of supplemental request would be a one-time project or capital request. So in your books, we broke that down in those columns by one-time and ongoing. All of those requests were reviewed by city management, and the recommendations from them to you were provided as well. Since the budget decisions do lie with you, ultimately, we would ask that you take a look at those supplemental requests and come prepared with your own recommendations. To help you do that, at the top of each supplemental request, we put the available dollars for both ongoing and one-time so that you can keep that in mind as you're looking at those requests. Our departments, as you know, have a lot of needs, so our needs request did surpass what is available, unfortunately, but that is where we rely on you to tell us our priorities and what you'd like to see done in the next year. And so the last thing I'll touch on is the council retreat agenda. This is subject to your approval. If you would like to see anything different, we can accommodate that. So starting at 8 in the morning, we will do opening remarks from you, Mayor, and also our city manager, just to kind of set the tone for the day and expectations, all of those things. Starting at 8:15, we'll go a little bit deeper into the budget philosophy, into some of the assumptions that we chose to put into the budget, to incorporate in the budget, as well as how those compare to some historical things that have been set. After we do all of the ground laying for that, we will take a short break and then jump right into our largest departments. So the way that we will do it is the department heads will be given the opportunity to come and give a short presentation or just speak on what they think is most important to their departments as far as the supplemental requests go. And then we will look at their supplemental list. So the goal for this retreat is not so much to get into the weeds of choosing what to approve and not to approve as far as operating goes. The goal of this retreat is going to be to review the supplemental requests and decide what you would like for us to fund. So we will go in the order here: utilities, police, fire, parks, and then public works. So those are our heavy hitters, and we'll hit those earliest in the morning. After the lunch break, we will take a look at the remaining general fund departments, which you'll see again listed there in the order. We will then hit the remaining enterprise funds, which is our billing and collection department, as well as solid waste, stormwater, and golf. After that, we will hit the internal service funds, and then hit any closing remarks we need to. We do understand that this is kind of a tight schedule. We do anticipate y'all having questions, which we welcome and our department heads welcome. So if we need to have overflow time, we've allocated that for the evening of the 29th and also potentially the work session on the 12th. So if you would like to see anything different in this retreat, please let us know. I think Norma has to have this posted by Thursday.
On Thursday.
On Thursday, so just let us know before then if you'd like to see anything different.
I think you accidentally said the wrong word on the impact of the property tax. You said a month. I think you meant a year.
No, it's $40 a month.
Is the increase or the, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Let us digest it. We'll get back before Thursday. Thank y'all very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Now let's move to agenda item number 10, discuss authorizing the execution of an oil and gas lease with Diamondback Energy. Keith.
Several months ago, the council approved going out for bids and proposals for leasing 0.13 acre of city property. Diamondback was the only ones that bid, the only proposal. Kyle Pierce is here from Diamondback, Kyle Pierce, and he'll be glad to answer any questions. Councilmember Thompson probably knows it as well as anybody, so either Councilmember Thompson or Mr. Pierce can answer them a lot better than I can, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Following Keith, good afternoon or evening. Kyle Pierce with Diamondback Energy. If y'all have any questions that I can answer.
No, I don't actually. I'm ready to execute it, move forward.
Well, it should have already been done, but they're ready. When are y'all gonna start the project?
We are drilling as early as October, starting on the eastern side,
Okay.
and we're moving westward. But for this tract, it'll be October to December. We should be drilling on or through.
Right. Okay. And I saw a quarter override, so
yes, sir.
Royalty interest should be wonderful.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
What was the bonus?
We offered $10,000 per net acre, so it came out to $1,300, and then we had an additional $1,500 for legal fees. Very small tract.
We wish you really well. Trust me, really well.
Wonderful. These are 4-mile wells, so we're really excited about them. So
How deep
steering.
are you going?
Sir.
How deep is this going? 10,000?
We've got Lower Sprayberry, Joe Mill, Wolfcamp A, and Wolfcamp B, which is roughly around 11,000 feet. 10-8. I'm not the geologist, but I know that we're going not quite to our Barnett area. That'll be later, but right now we're working the Sprayberry Trend area.
Okay. 'Cause I know there's a lot of action at 19,000 also.
A lot of action. I'm sorry.
At the 19,000 foot level.
Yes, that is the new
That's the
play
new
that we are all
shift.
going after.
Yeah.
More southern nectar is probably what y'all are seeing, but
Yeah.
yes, sir.
It's pretty prolific stuff.
Yeah.
You
That's
get
why I
down
wish
there.
you well.
Thank you.
Well, we got that other 50 acres.
Yeah, good drilling.
We
Mayor,
did
this-
also, in
RFP comes
addition,
from-
we do have a 4.46 acre tract that we are going to traverse with these wells that we did about a year ago with the city of Odessa.
Okay.
So we'll now kind of show that it'll come to fruition.
Mayor, Mr. Pierce has another engagement, so I don't see any need for him to stick around
I don't
unless.
either.
Okay.
We'll
Thank
take
y'all
care
very
of it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, last agenda item, number 11, discuss work session items for the agenda. David, is that you? It says council. Who's council?
Actually, Mayor, if you don't mind, please, it was just a discussion to see if council was good with how we're doing the work session items. Some items are going straight to council without work session, and we just wanted feedback if you wanted to adjust, make changes, and possibly see the finance items come to work session before it goes to the council meetings. Of course, it will be an additional 2 weeks time for any agenda item to be approved on or considered. So it was just a discussion item, and we wanted some feedback.
Gentlemen, Chris, your thoughts?
I understand it was done that way in the past. Is that correct? Where the financial items were part of the work session and then they would go on the regular agenda?
Correct. We would put all financial items to work session, and then 2 weeks later it would go to council meetings. So
Well, what I will say is just like this thing with court, instead of having me surprised at a meeting, at least now we at least can digest it, read it. I prefer it. It seems to me like a lot better process to get it here, be able to chew it, and then be able to familiar with it. So when you read it again, I don't know, that's me, I find it helpful.
And sometimes those items really depend on the unique complexity of the topic. Some are the easy slide, and others need a little more look at and to chew the bones on it.
I agree. Eddie, Craig, anything?
I was going to agree, and talking about the past, that was, when we started the TERS board and anything, that was my memory of it, that, really anything getting on the council agenda went through the work session, and so that was always helpful. Again, I think surprise may not be the right word, but it certainly helped us navigate that. The other thing that Norma and I had visited about is maybe moving the committee appointments to the work session so that we, again, have some time to think about this is upcoming. You've got these appointments coming up. I know several of them have come where it's like, I wish I'd have known a little more time to find some folks to apply for those. And that was one thing that was recommended or suggested, is maybe we could move the committee appointment, discuss those in the work session.
Well, if no one opposes, I think it'll make the workshop a little longer, but it might make it council move a little quicker because you're familiar with the topics and we kind of already educated ourselves. So
Exactly.
I think it's probably a good call, Norma. And I think unless no one disagrees, I think let's try it. If we don't work, we'll go back.
are you good with 4 weeks as in regards to the boards and commissions, a month ahead of time, or would you like that longer?
I think so. I don't.
A month ahead? Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Gentlemen, nothing else.
Just have a quick
Oh, yes,
clarification.
ma'am.
I'm so sorry. Just to clarify, the $40 a month is the total tax payment. So the difference between last year's tax rate and this year's tax rate is $1.28 a month.
Right.
Just want to make that
That's
clear.
$40 is total for the year, right? Not for a month?
For a month.
For a month?
For a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for a month.
Okay, thank
Thank
you. If nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Vasquez, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.